Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Halleck. This week, New York State Senator Dan Steck and sheriffs from several counties along the border are calling for the repeal of New York's green light law, at least in counties right along the Canadian border, which they say is hindering their ability to help Border Patrol deal with the influx of illegal immigrants crossing the northern border.
What this would do is this would exempt border counties from the green light law, period, full stop.
Republican State Senator Dan Steck says sheriff's departments and other law enforcement agencies need to be able to share data when it comes to apprehending migrants who are illegally crossing the northern border by the thousands.
So far this year, they've had 18,000 apprehensions in the Swanton sector, which runs from New Hampshire to Watertown. There's about 10 different sectors along the Canadian border. The next highest number is the sector out near Seattle, Washington, and that's just over 1,000 apprehensions. So there's 18,000 here. 80-90% of the illegal crossings on our northern border are happening here. And that 18,000 number this year is up from 2 years ago. That number was around 2,000. It's a growing problem, and it is very specific to New York State.
Steck made the call to repeal the state's green light law alongside fellow North Country lawmakers and sheriffs from 4 of the counties right along the Canadian border.
All we're asking for in law enforcement is a fair chance, just an opportunity to use the tools and resources with other agencies so that we can partner to create a stronger bond to keep all of our communities the safest that we possibly can.
The green light law, passed in 2019, allows undocumented immigrants to get a driver's license. Those applying must present multiple documents, including other forms of ID, like a passport or foreign driver's license. There is also a provision in the law that prohibits their driving information from being shared with federal authorities.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm putting together tonight is going to show exactly how the left, and the powers that be, once again have been doing things behind the American taxpayers' back, and a lot of it stems from blue states and blue cities, and in this case, it's also a problem that's coming from Canada. If anybody thought that illegals were only coming through the southern border, Now, there's no secret that for many, many decades that a lot of illegals have come through from Canada into America, But, if anybody, forgets, I should say, or if anybody knows anything that's going on in Canada, Canada is a haven for many illegal aliens because Justin Trudeau and the powers that be, they are trying to run Canada basically, in my opinion, into the dirt. They push for massive illegal immigration, and now when at a time where America is going through so much, with the illegal immigration influx because of the Biden regime, we have Canada, who's supposed to be America's sister country, which a lot of people say, they're basically doing the same thing that the Mexican government is doing, and that is letting people go through their country to come into America. And I can only imagine what they're going to say. They can't pull the asylum card, in Canada. That they can't do, But instead of them having, taking care of their checks and balances, and if they want to let illegals in their country, then that's fine. By all means, that's your business. But that you share a border with America. And if you cannot secure that border and stop these illegals from coming through, then in my opinion, just like every other country that's doing it, to me, you're not Canada as a whole as far as the people in charge, the powers that be. To me, those people are a threat to the sovereignty of America. Plain and simple. So you see here about this green light law that that's going on, where you find public officials that are upset because of so many illegals that are coming through, and how they're basically trying to make it easier for illegals to come through. Okay. Another thing about this that I find interesting about the whole driver's license scenario, Eric Adams, if anybody forgets, and I'll keep reminding people, he wanted 800,000 undocumented people, okay, non-citizens basically, in America to be able to vote. Okay, so stick with me, because there is a lot more to this, and you'll see there's some other things that are going on. I have a couple of videos, and one of the things that I want to show is that people like AOC, who cares so much about her progressive movement, does not care about Americans, and doesn't even care about the people in New York, okay, or in New York State, okay. And I'm going to show you some more on that, what's going on, and stick with the video. There's another video at the end that I want to show that was put out by a content creator that I follow a lot, and it's going to show how much that the Democrats keep saying that no, the elections are the safest that they've ever been. Only when it's time for them to win, they say it's safe. Okay, but there's some information that you people are going to be very, very, I'm not going to say surprised, but you're definitely going to be interested in wanting to hear. Okay, so with that being said, before I continue, I just want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. And also, I'll be leaving a link again for Loza Alexander's Gifts and Go campaign. If anybody can help out with donations and or leaving prayers or words of encouragement, is greatly appreciated. So we're going to continue with this video so you can see what's going on. And you know, this is one of the reasons why I get upset with a lot of people on the left, because your complaint, well, I shouldn't say in New York so far, because a lot of people in New York are changing. A lot of people in New York are fed up, and if I had to guess, they're going to try to flip New York red, and this is one of the reasons why. But still, even with a lot of people in New York, you know, turning from the Democrat Party, there are still a lot, okay, that want to ignore this kind of information. This was put out 3 days ago, okay? And then never mind the illegals that are being bused into New York, okay, from other states, from Texas, from California, being flown in, okay, by the Biden regime and then just scattered. They have to look up north, okay? They have to look in their own backyard, because it's coming from up north, not just from the southern border, okay, or from the out west from California, okay? They're being surrounded, and people need to start signing petitions in New York, okay, in New York State, and put an end to this, okay? Because if not, the crime is going to keep getting worse the way it has, and the economy is going to keep worse, because all they're going to keep doing is coddling and just giving these illegals a free ride, okay? And it is just totally getting out of hand. But let's continue with this video. Here we go.
The law prohibits local and state law enforcement in New York State from communicating and sharing.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go back a little bit so you guys can listen to what this man has to say.
There is also a provision in the law that prohibits their driving information from being shared with federal authorities.
The law prohibits local and state law enforcement in New York State from communicating and sharing certain data, the data that you would get when you run a plate, with our federal law enforcement partners. So
now, why is that? Why is it that an illegal immigrant could come in, get a driver's license, possibly have a criminal record, or maybe even a clean record, but yet their information is prohibited from being shared? But let an American have expired tags, an expired driver's license, tickets, you know, on their license, and if a cop goes and pulls them over because something showed up on their radar with their license plate, they get the book thrown at them. But when it comes to an illegal, they get a free pass. And this is not just in New York. This is happening countrywide. Okay, this is happening throughout the nation. In California, in Seattle, in Florida, in Chicago, Pennsylvania, where illegals are given, okay, the opportunity to get away with all kinds of motor vehicle infractions, or I guess that's what you call it, in infractions, where they're basically flipping cars, getting into accidents, killing people, okay, in motor vehicle accidents, and they're let go. I'm not understanding who is it that's making up these laws that gives illegals the right to basically break the damn law in America, and yet Americans are basically get the book thrown at them, okay? They get locked up and the key is thrown away. As a matter of fact, as an American, if you owe child support, your license gets taken away from you. They make it harder for you to live, to pay child support. But yet illegal migrants are helped to get ID that they shouldn't even be able to get. And right away, it's like we're not going to share their information. This is why so many of them are getting away scot-free with committing crimes. But let's continue.
Specifically ICE Border Patrol.
Leslie Holman, who is an immigration attorney in Burlington, says the practice of sharing a driver's data was shut down by a lawsuit.
There were people that were detained based on this information. And ultimately, that was challenged, and there was a lawsuit that was settled, which ended up in there being, stronger things put into place to make sure that this information was protected and that, people were not in danger of being picked up.
North Country Democratic Assemblyman Billy Jones, who also voted against the green light law, says he believes in data sharing between state and federal agencies. However, he says it's up to Congress to help Border Patrol agents along the border.
I would say let's put that back on, the federal government to get more help up here on the northern border. I think a lot of times the northern border gets forgotten in some of these national discussions.
At the federal level, U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand announced a bipartisan bill this week that would improve the tracking of illegal entries along the northern border. Gillibrand says the bill would help ensure that Customs and Border Protection has the data it needs to address the increase in unauthorized border crossings and to combat illegal drug and weapons trafficking.
At the same time, while they smuggle migrants south, they are trafficking guns and drugs from the United States into Canada. Until we update our northern border strategy, we will continue to be unprepared and unequipped to address this growing migrant crisis. It's
funny that you have a Democrat, okay, that's blowing the whistle on this. Okay, I shouldn't say blowing the whistle, but that is, speaking out about this, and even her own party won't come out and say, well, you know what? Let's help out one of our own that is seeing all the crime that's going on by people crossing the border illegally. I mean, it's beyond me how this continues, okay? And people just keep turning a blind eye, especially Congress, especially the people that are, in the White House right now. I mean, and yet Kamala Harris wants to go out there and go to all these border states, okay, all these swing states, and keep eating up people's heads as if everything is okay. Meanwhile, these things are affecting people in democratically run states first, and then in other states, and they still don't care to do anything about it. But let's continue.
It's time to give the northern border the attention it deserves and do what needs to be done to keep vulnerable people in our northern border community safe.
The bill would require that Homeland Security have a northern border threat analysis every 3 years. Meantime, Steck and these other lawmakers have put forth legislation they hope will be taken up in the upcoming legislative session. They say there's an urgent need to help the Border Patrol and northern communities deal with the influx of illegal migrants crossing the border.
I've got some people that are very close to taking matters into their own hands. None of us want to see that. Border Patrol is spread thin. I'm spread thin. We're doing the best we can. But when you can't even go out of your own house and comfortably use your own land, it's disgusting. And it's happening all the time. That's my concern in Northern Franklin County.
Okay, there you go. Now, what kills me about this also is that you have people on both sides of the aisle up north in New York, Republicans and Democrats. They showed this guy's a Republican sheriff, the other one was a Democrat. They showed a Republican politician, and then they showed a Democrat politician. They're all on the same page to get this shit stopped. Okay? And you heard what this man just said. That there are people on the verge of taking matters into their own hand. Okay? You know what he's talking about. And sometimes I truly, truly feel that this is what the Biden regime wants. This is what the powers that be that want to destroy America, this is what they want. They want an all-out, like some sort of all-out, I'm not going to say civil war, but they want stuff to be, they want this melting pot to overflow and just explode. Okay? Because, you know, there are people that will protect their home, their land, as per constitutional rights. You have the right to protect yourself, your family, your property, and your neighbor. Okay? And, you know, for Kathy Holcomb to go out there and talk all the nonsense that she's talking about that things are great in New York State, but yet you have people, okay, from both sides of the aisle, upstate New York, getting together saying, you know what, this is getting out of hand. We have to do something. And yet they won't. And then you have a weasel, okay, running Canada, who shouldn't even be running Canada because basically 80% of the population can't stand him, holding on to power. And instead of showing his support of America and saying, you know what, let's do something on our side, no, he's not, because they're all in on it. Okay? Let the illegals into Canada, and then we'll just let them trickle into America. And then in Mexico, those tyrants out there doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a tyrant of a governor in Arizona, one in California, that are in cahoots, that are letting people in, against one person who's trying to stop it in Texas. It's like the Republicans and the people that really care, they're outnumbered. And they need help. This is why I am so for that, you know what? Democrats need to be voted out in mass. Okay? Donald Trump has to get in, and I mean, the Republicans have to weed out the rhinos. They got to take over the Senate. They got to take over the House. They basically got to take over all the swing states, and it just needs to happen. The Democrat rule and what they're doing needs to be abolished. Okay? Because all they keep doing is showing America that they don't care. They don't care about the illegals, and they sure as shit don't care about America. They really don't. But while this is going on in New York, okay, upstate New York, if anybody can stomach it, there's something I want to show you guys about AOC. Okay, and I spoke about it before in some other videos about how she had went out to Chile. Okay, now I'm going to show a video that came out back in, I believe it was 2021 or 2020. I think it was 2023. Okay, and like I said, I want this was supposed to be, I'm believing it was supposed to be a commercial that she was putting out for, it's either her organization or her campaign or whatever the case is, but you need to listen to every word that she says in this video, and I'm going to put some context to it. Here we go. Okay, now this video was put out back in, I guess it was from her own YouTube channel. It says AOC visits Chile, Brazil, and Colombia. This was actually a year ago. Okay, September 21st, 2023. Listen to what this woman has to say. Okay.
Right now, we have a record number of Latino and Latina legislators, and we want to use this as an opportunity to reset our U.S. relationship to Latin America. Estamos aquí porque queremos aprender de la fuerza de ustedes.
Developing real relationships.
Okay, I'm going to cut in real quick. And right here when she says, we are here because we want to learn from your strength. Mind you, she's in Chile. They are a socialist, very leftist progressive country. Okay, I should say the people in charge. Okay, Colombia, I mean, everybody knows what's been going on in Colombia. The stuff really hasn't changed. Okay, and as far as Brazil just cut off. This is their socialist communist political officials at work. They cut off X from Brazil. Okay, total blackout, because they don't want people voicing their opinions. Okay, let's go on and listen to what she has to say.
Aprender de la fuerza de ustedes.
Developing real relationship to many of the most present movements happening in Latin America right now is probably one of the best ways for us to express solidarity. That's one of
a lot of the movements happening in South America, okay, which this is why I say that the Democrats, they eat themselves. They contradict themselves. AOC is advocating for open borders, saying that so many people coming from South America is because they're fleeing persecution and they're seeking asylum. So why in the world are you going to South America, to all these countries, and trying to learn from their strength? She is totally contradicting what it is that she's saying as far as standing up for illegal immigration. You can't come out and say, we want open borders in America, because a lot of these people from Latin America are fleeing persecution, but yet you go to Latin America and you want to have a treaty with them to basically do deals with them. It's like, are you asking them to take their people back? What strength is it that you are trying to learn from them if so many people from Latin America are leaving because they're being persecuted? It's total BS. Let's continue.
the main reasons that precipitated our visit very recently to Brazil, Chile, and Colombia.
Queremos fortalecer los lazos entre nuestros países, entre nuestros movimientos, y también queremos aprender de ustedes su forma de organizar, de desarrollar coaliciones políticos.
La idea de este viaje empezó con las elecciones de Lula, Boric y Petro.
Y la pregunta que Lula me dijo fue...
Okay, now listen to this next question. She's going to say it in Spanish and the subtitles are in English, and I'm sorry, they put this together. It says, the question that Lula asked me was, where are the progressives of the United States? Right.
¿A dónde están los progresistas de los Estados Unidos? ¿A dónde están en Latinoamérica? Tenemos el orgullo de decir aquí. We are so...
Where are they in Latin America? We are proud to say we are here. She's explaining her whole agenda. Everybody knows that this whole progressive movement is anything but. It is a socialist communist movement. That's what it is.
Incredibly honored to be here as a delegation.
One of the themes that was very prominent in Chile, but it also came up as well in Brazil and Colombia, is how deep the polarization is.
Okay, now pay attention to what she's going to say next. Okay? Excuse me, I gotta go back, because when I seen this video, it blew my mind. Okay, it's she's talking about, let me go back. It says that was very prominent in Chile, but also came up as well in Brazil, okay, and Colombia, is how deep the polarization is, especially when it comes to media. Okay, but look at what she says next.
Colombia, is how deep the polarization is, especially when it comes to media. It cannot be understated how
much the U.S. far right. Do you see this? So this woman is going to another country or other countries, okay, that are being run by socialists, whose people are supposedly fleeing persecution. And then she's going to go and vilify half of America. Can't make this up, people. Can't make this up.
How much the U.S. far-right and fascist movements have been working extremely hard to export many of their tactics and goals throughout Latin America.
Can you believe this woman? This woman is a freaking traitor to America. To go to other countries and vilify half of America, saying that they're using it through the media. Meanwhile, everybody knows that like 80% of the media, 90% of the media in America is owned by leftists. Not to mention George Soros was given the green light to buy over 200 media outlets. Okay? In America and throughout. And this woman, okay, with everything that's going on in New York, illegals coming in, flown in, busting, not to mention them coming in from Canada, and this woman had the nerve last year to go to South America and speak to these people and put, and I'm not even going to say half of America down, basically 70% of America, maybe even 75, 80% of America, okay, because it's just a small fringe, okay, of people that have this demonic agenda that are trying to push it throughout America and throughout the world. Case in point, okay, Chile, okay, with their socialist dictator of a president, and she's going to go there and vilify America. Unbelievable. You know, I tell you what, if only we lived in a world where if she came out and said something like this, that her citizenship in America would have been revoked and she would not be able to make it back. If only that could have been the case. But let's continue.
I'm going crazy meeting Ariel because she's just so legendary as the first minister of racial justice. We are so excited to talk about issues of police brutality, of developing education, and how we link our communities across borders.
I like the way she says, I gotta keep going. It's a short video, but I gotta go back to it. And I'm doing this because I'm setting up the context for the next video, okay? And it's very important, especially people in New York, okay? And you young people in New York, do not be fooled by this dingbat's words, okay? By her ideology, okay? And I'll explain to you because like I said, I get a lot of people from the left leaving me comments and leaving me emails. I want you to see what's going on. You keep voting for this woman or you keep supporting this woman for the way she's saying, okay? Look at the words that she's using, okay? Many of their tactics and goals are throughout Latin America. We're going to continue
Their
from
tactics
there.
and
Okay.
goals throughout Latin America.
I'm going crazy.
She goes, I'm going crazy meeting Aniela because she's just so legendary. The first minister of racial justice. Here we go, racial justice, okay? I thought that only in America people always fought about this racial justice stuff because you know what? In Latin America and other places like that, especially like Brazil, okay? Which Brazil and Portugal were the countries that during the slave trade, they had the most slaves from Africa. But they won't talk about that. But at the same time, throughout the centuries, they incorporated all those African people. That's why in Brazil, you have a lot of dark-skinned people and light-skinned people and brown-skinned people. And for the most part, they all get along because they know that they are Brazilian. They are Portuguese, okay? Only in America, they keep using trigger words and terms like racial justice, okay? But now, obviously, they got somebody in South America that's, you know, that's going to start that movement or whatever the case is, which I find funny because if a lot of these, again, if a lot of these South American countries are persecuting their citizens, okay, and their citizens are leaving en masse to come to America and spread throughout the world, why is she meeting up with a lot of the political officials, okay, that they're fighting against? You think they're going to take their people back? No, they're not. Like I said, it's all BS. It's an agenda, okay? But this is what she says. We are so excited to talk about issues of police brutality, of developing education, okay, and how we link our communities across borders. How you link your communities across borders. But the way the left want to do it is bring all the communities across our borders. While the communities, the American communities here in America are saying, no, we don't want that. So how are you going to go to another country saying that you're trying to find out how you can link communities across borders when you can't even take care of the community in your own country, the community that you are supposed to represent? Okay? The people that voted you in, that are telling you and all the other leftist shills in America, we don't want this, but you don't listen. You keep the borders open and you keep letting people in. And then you're going to go to all these other countries and make deals with them. And what's the deals? Okay? Why can't we send back the Venezuelans? Because the Venezuelan dictator came out and said, we're not taking them back. Don't send no planes because you're not gonna be able to land. So you're basically forcing all your criminals on us. And yet AOC is talking about going to South America, getting hooked up with all these Latin American communities across America, in South America, and do what? Are you asking them to take their criminals back? I think not. Okay? Because all they keep doing is coming in. But she wants to talk about communities. We're going to get to the next video, and we're going to show you what's going on in communities, okay, that AOC won't talk about. But let's finish with this one. Here we go. I'm sorry.
Watching the police doing things that it's unbelievable. Last 6 years in Brazil, a lot of political violence, a lot of fake news.
Here we go.
No es
Fake
una
news.
coincidencia que los ataques
A lot of fake news in Brazil, a lot of political violence. But what she's not telling you, okay, the social justice warrior, is that, again, X was banned in Brazil because people being able to communicate. The political violence that's been going on in Brazil are people on the right that are fed up with the leftist communist regimes that are going on and their agenda, and they're fighting back. But leave it up to a social justice warrior, okay, from Brazil, that AOC adores because she's one herself, to make it seem like, oh, there's a lot of disinformation and fake news going on and we need to put a stop to it. It's not fake news, okay? It's the people rising because they're fed up. But let's continue.
al feminismo también son puntos con los ataques de nuestro medio ambiente, de nuestra planta.
See, that's all they're talking about. Here we go, okay? And I'm very surprised AOC didn't say nothing about it. I'm going to read this real quick. It's no coincidence that the attacks of feminism, really? What does AOC know about feminism when she idolizes the transgender community? What does she know about feminism? Okay, what else is there?
Los ataques al feminismo.
Also a coincidence with attacks on our environment, on our planet. There you go, with that leftist agenda, that new Green Deal agenda. Let's continue.
También son puntos con los ataques de nuestro medio ambiente, de nuestro planeta. Tenemos mismos retos en los
We also have the same challenges in the United States of America. Yeah, no kidding.
Estados Unidos también. Tenemos un corte que está aquí.
We have a court that is attacking the rights of women. What is she going to get into after this? You guessed it, abortion. Yet she's in South America, where in South America, I mean, so many, and when I mean many, I'm talking like maybe 90% of the Latino community, okay, does not believe in abortion. They believe in family. They believe in marriage, okay? They believe in God. They believe in Jesus, in Christian religious values. So here she is, once again, badmouthing America, when that agenda that is going on in America is something that is solely pushed and perpetrated by the left. But she's making it seem as if the majority of people in America, okay, are for these things, and the far right is trying to stop it. And even if it was the supposed far right trying to stop it, it's a bad ideology. It's a bad agenda. It's an agenda and ideology of destruction, plain and simple. Doesn't matter if it's in America or anywhere around the world. It is an agenda of destruction, of the family, of the populace, of the country, of laws, of all that.
Quitando nuestros derechos de mujeres.
The lessons from MST are some of the biggest ones that I had, at least in terms of grassroots organizing on this trip. What I found so remarkable about MST and their counterpart MTST. So MST is sin terreno, so that's without land, landless workers. And then MTST is sin techo, without roof, so it's houseless workers as well. Their direct action, their decision to engage in electoralism, their programs around popular education are also very critical to their movements.
Estamos aquí porque los retos de fascismo y los movimientos de fascismo son global y
She's talking about the fascist movements are global and worldwide. You know, I tell you, people, if anybody knows any kind of history, there was a time, okay, up until the 40s, where there was such a large socialist, communist, fascist, dictator movement around the world. Okay? Where all those leaders started to fall. Pick one. Stalin, Mussolini, Pol Pot, who else? What was the other one from Russia? I mean, you know, it just, and China, I mean, Kim Jong-un's father, okay? Castro. I mean, all these people at some point, way back when, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50, 60, 70 years ago, they were running, okay, these fascist, communist, socialist movement, and then people started to rise, and that's why we had World War II, and we had all these wars to get rid of these dictators. Even in Africa, you had just some demonic dictators like Idi Amin. You know, people had to rise to get rid of them. Now we have a new rising, okay, of these socialists and communists, and then they're saying that people on the right, the ones that are standing up to fight against it, they're the fascists. No, they're not. Mussolini was a fascist. Okay? Mussolini didn't want anybody else in Italy but Italians. Okay? This far-right movement that she's talking about, that everybody keeps saying that they're supposed to be these fascists, why is it that so many on that side are mixed people? Okay? People that don't want corruption. People that want more freedoms. People that want communities to get engaged and to build people up and have a better economic community. I tell you, this woman should have never been let back into America after she went out to South America to pull this shit. But let's continue.
Y con eso, los movimientos progresistas también tienen que ser global.
Yeah, progressive movements also have to be global. Yeah, okay.
Si vamos a ascender a los retos de este momento.
Yeah, everybody gives a round of applause. A room full of fascists in South America. Okay? Communists, socialists, dictators. Okay? Now, the reason why I had to show this was last year. Okay? I'll show you the next video clip that's coming up, which is about a day old or something like that. Here we go. Okay, so this came out today, 8 or 9 hours ago. Okay? That was put out. And I know before that I said I was going to try to refrain from getting any information from like Neil Cavuto, Stuart Varney, stuff like that. But it's not like anybody else is putting this stuff out. And there's a reason for it. Okay? So I want everybody to pay attention, and you'll see. But you heard AOC talking about how they're trying to build communities across the borders, and how she's over here in South America trying to find out what their strength is and stuff like that. Okay? We're going to see what's going on now, okay, as of today, in New York, okay, in her district. Here we go.
Some people who live in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's congressional district in Queens, New York, say she's missing in action. They're not happy with their neighborhood, which they say has become a hotbed for sex workers. Community activist Ramesses Frias joins me now. Ramesses, has AOC said anything about the state of her district?
No, not at all. Thank you again for having me here. And AOC is definitely missing in action. She has not come into the neighborhood and does not even reference the quality of life issues that we are facing there.
Describe.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in real quick with this. I know it just started, and it's only a 3-minute video. But some advice that I can throw out there, okay, for AOC, you go to these South American countries, you come out and say, leave the borders open in America because these people are fleeing persecution, okay? But you're going to these South American countries and you're already talking about social justice and people being persecuted by the far right and all that. You basically put America down, right? But yet in your own district, okay, where you've had all these illegals come in, okay, you've got prostitution, I'm sure the drugs, the crime, everything that goes along with it. If there's one thing you can learn, AOC, from all these other countries, is one thing, and maybe you'll understand. And that is, start kicking out the people that you're letting in from other countries, because those same countries that you're going to, okay, to find out what's their strength, that's exactly what they're doing. Okay? They're letting their criminals out to come in to destroy our country. You want to learn what gives them strength? That's what gives them strength. You might want to get your ass back to Queens, New York, and start rounding people up, especially the illegals that are bringing the crime, and slingshot their asses back across the border. Start there, and maybe you'll learn what the hell it is, but you won't do it, okay? Because just like any socialist, any communist, okay, Joseph Stalin did it, Pol Pot did it, okay, Mao did it, okay, Castro did it. What did they do? They started getting rid of their criminals, killing off people. I mean, just getting rid of what they thought was the bad element. Okay? Pushing it off on everybody else. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're letting these criminals come in, and you're pushing it onto the constituents that voted you in. Okay? And for what? Now that they're not probably going to vote for you, you already have it set up because all these other people that you're letting in, you're hoping on getting their vote. Let's continue.
What's happening?
We have prostitution running rampant. We have storefronts closing their doors because of the conditions that are out there. Businesses aren't flourishing at all because we have all these prostitutes loitering in the area. We have violent crime that's up 90% in 1 year. Things need to change immediately.
But do you have any doubt that AOC will be re-elected this November to her district?
Yeah.
That's the.
I'll answer that for you, okay? Before he answers, she probably will, because if I had to guess, there's going to be a hell of a lot more people voting, but they're not going to be registered and they're not going to be American. I'm just putting it out there. Here we go.
The thing about politics, there's a majority of people that do vote and then some people that don't, and the concern is we need to continue to educate people on the lack of work that she's actually doing. She just out there voices her opinions on certain things but doesn't do anything feasible for the area that she's supposed to cover.
But that's all the leftists do anyway. That's all the Democrats do. They just go out there and they talk and talk and talk and promise, but nothing gets done. Okay? Is promises made, never kept. And it's always been like that in New York, and it's been like that in California, and it's been like that in Chicago. You name it, and it's happening even more. They keep having all these damn town hall meetings in Colorado, in Chicago, in California, in Pennsylvania. And the people are going out there and they're airing their grievances. They're out there, they're just ferociously bitching to these leftist politicians, and they're not listening. They don't care. AOC does not care. I could never, if I was voted, this is me, okay? And I'm sure that there's a lot of politicians out there that do it, okay? But you don't hear of them because that's not what the mainstream media wants you to hear. But I'm sure that there are politicians, okay, running their districts that barely make it to Washington because they're too busy in their district taking care of their family, which is their district. Okay? Why isn't this man all over the mainstream media talking about this? Because he's Latino? Because he's against AOC? Because he wants to spread awareness and try to get the people together? That's probably exactly all of the above, and maybe more. But yet they ignore, okay, all the crime that's going on, and instead of bringing it up to AOC and say, listen, you might want to stop going overseas or to South America, whatever the case is, trying to push your progressive agenda and trying to so-called draw strength or find out where they draw their strength from, and get your ass in your district and take care of your district. Because Nancy Pelosi did it, Maxine Waters did it, they all do it. All their districts, are just war zones. But yet all they do is go to Capitol Hill and bitch and moan and fight for rights, and they don't do anything beyond that. They don't help out their people. They don't help out the ones that voted them in. They don't help out the Americans whose taxes are giving them a damn paycheck. Let's continue.
Now, it says New York City's Mayor Eric Adams, he's pleaded not guilty to bribery and fraud charges. The New York Post suggests that Jewish voters are ready to support former governor, the disgraced former governor, Andrew Cuomo, for mayor. Will you support Cuomo if Adams needs to be replaced?
The issue with Cuomo is, you know, he has his checkered past, and there's an issue, and there's problems there. But he's one of the reasons that there's so much prostitution. And by repealing the loitering law and having an anti-loitering law, we have all these individuals constantly in the streets in front of businesses.
See, there you go. He repeals the anti-loitering law, okay? Which, you know what? If you want to make a law like that saying that, you know what, cops can't just stop a group of people hanging out, I get it. But did he put any provisions into that law? You know? Obviously the answer is no. Because if he did, you wouldn't have prostitution out in the open in New York. And this is nothing new. Growing up in New York, there were many areas where there was prostitution. But who was in charge? 99% of the time. Democrats. And only a Democrat will make laws like this without putting provisions, without saying, you know, they just go and whatever feels good, let me just say it. So like that, it empowers the social justice warriors. How's that working? Okay. And now you got the Jewish community, I shouldn't say the whole community, but Jewish voters who say they're going to support Cuomo. It's like, and no offense to anybody out there that's Jewish, but this question is going to go to the people that support Cuomo. I take it you don't have prostitution in your neighborhoods, because if you did, you wouldn't be voting this moron back in, okay, because of the law he made that is allowing prostitution. And if you are knowing all that, then you're part of the problem too. But let's continue.
And causing issues. I'm not sure that he would be able to be the person to represent New York City at this time. I put all my backing on Curtis Lee Watch.
There you go.
To become the mayor.
There you go.
It's the administration of New York City, I'm going to say it's in chaos. Police chief gone, education guy gone, chief counsel gone.
Yeah.
Adams says he's not leaving, he's going to stay, he's going to fight. Seems to me that the chaos.
You know, it's funny, Eric Adams says he's not leaving, he's staying. Brandon Johnson didn't want to leave. Okay, Kathy Hochul, nope. Even though supposedly it was a vote that she won. Yeah, okay. Gavin Newsom, okay. With that recall, 32% of the votes in, they already called it, he stayed. These leftists don't want to leave. Okay? It's like I've said before. I've never met, being born and raised in New York, I've never met one person, not one, that ever said they liked or said anything good about Chuck Schumer. How in the hell is this man still a representative in New York State? And yet, you have people like AOC, Adams, Chuck Schumer, Gavin Newsom, Brandon Johnson, I mean, you name it, Letitia James, you name it, all of them, blowing that door whistle saying that you can't let Trump in because he's going to be a dictator, and if he gets voted in, he'll never leave the White House. But yet, Biden's the president, okay, and all the views that the people don't want refuse to leave. Right, okay.
The chaotic administration is going to be with us for at least another year, and that nothing will change in New York City because they can't govern. What do you say?
I say that we need to get the real people in these office seats and to make sure that everyone is represented correctly. We need to start looking for viable and strong candidates that can represent this area and the people, and not just somebody that's out there looking for, you know, a check or just, you know, some type of photo op.
Can you
They need to get Curtis Lewa in. They need to stand behind him and vote him in, because Curtis Lewa has always been on the side, not so much, he's always been on the side of law enforcement, okay? But when Curtis Lewa started, okay, with the Guardian Angels, they were out there patrolling and protecting the people in the neighborhoods, okay? Putting their lives on the line, okay? Not saying that the cops didn't do it, but they were basically boots on the ground where, you know what, wherever the cops couldn't be, we were there. And it brought communities together, knowing that there's people out there, just regular folk, okay, that they were hearing all the stories. I mean, 24 hours a day, okay? The cops could only do but so much, especially when you got people that tie their hands. But now you got a person like Curtis Lee, where it knows that has the backing of the police force, and he has the backing of the civilians. That is the kind of mayor you want, because what he's putting first is security first into New York, okay? He's putting Americans first. He's putting humanity, like since the left like to say, where's the humanity? He is trying to put the humanity back in New York. But for some people in the Jewish community to say that you're backing up Cuomo to take Adams' spot, did you forget that after Cuomo, Kathy Hochul got put in, wasn't even voted in? She's doing a disastrous job. Adams is doing a disastrous job. Do you think that Cuomo has changed? Unbelievable. Well, let's continue.
Ever see AOC's district, the one you've been talking about? Can you ever see it going Republican?
You should.
Well, I'm starting there slowly. You know,
There you go.
it all starts with the groundwork. I'm a Republican there. I'm running for city council
There you go.
when the time comes, and I'm going to do my best to represent the Republican Party and to show that the Republican Party is the party for the people.
There you go. There you go, people. Anybody in New York, whoever this man, I didn't even catch this man's name, to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie. But you need to look him up. You need to put your support behind him. You need to put your support behind Curtis Lewa. You need to start turning districts in New York red. You need to get all these Democrats out, like Adams, that wants to give 800,000 migrants, illegals, non-citizens, whatever the hell you want to call them. He wants to give them the right to vote, to have driver's license, to do stuff like that. That is a lot of people. That is 800,000 more leftist votes if they get their way. This is why I said in one of my videos about 2 weeks ago, get engaged in the small votes, okay? In the small communities, because if not, you have to understand one thing. That's how AOC is at where she's at now. It started out in her district, okay? A bartender just working, wind up getting voted in, and look at where she's at. Schmoozing with socialists on the other side of the damn planet. Okay? Because you got complacent. You got to start filling in the small roles, in the schools, on the school boards, in the communities, on the community boards. If it takes 1,500 votes to vote somebody in to be, like we had this saying, if there was somebody like that everybody liked on the block, it was like the mayor of the block, the governor of the block, whatever it is, you need to get those votes in and get the Republicans in, but not the rhino Republicans, not these Democrats pretending to be Republicans. You need these America First Republicans in. You got to start taking over the neighborhoods and cleaning it out. You got to stand your ground. You got to vote. And you have to show up at the meetings. You have to show up at the rallies, because you know what? Just by looking at the protests that's happening and that are still going on, because people are talking, they're like, it hasn't stopped. It just hasn't been on the media because the election's coming up. But there's still a lot of rallies, a lot of pro-Palestinian rallies and stuff like that, and all kinds of chaos going on in New York. It's just that the media has like this blackout. You have to get out there and get engaged, okay? I keep saying it. Anybody with a cell phone that has a working camera on it, you are the new modern day journalist. That's why so much information is coming out. The media can't stop it. They're trying, but they can't. Everybody is a journalist, okay? And if you see the things that are going on, if you see what's going on in your neighborhood, you have to speak up, but you also have to get out there and vote. You got to vote these leftists out, okay? Because Stuart Varney said it best. If Adams stays in, that's still another full year of this chaos and carnage still happening in New York. And by the looks of it, it's not slowing down, okay? It's only a month and a half, not even, not even a month and a week before the election. But do you think for 1 minute that the left is not going to do everything and anything in their power to flood this country and flood as many communities as they can with their agenda, just so they can hold on to certain seats? I'm telling you, you have to vote them out, especially when it comes to the school districts. I believe that the Board of Education needs to be abolished anyway and revamped. Okay, and keep all the good teachers and get rid of the 80% of bad teachers that they got. But, I mean, one step at a time. But if you can, when I was growing up as a kid, I mean, people's parents were part of the PTA, which is the the PAT or PTA, Parents Association Committee, or whatever they call it. Okay, that's how these teachers didn't get away with teaching all that nonsense. The only reason why teachers are getting away with it now and in mass is because I have to guess that there is no Parents Teachers Association meetings. Okay, and if there is, then it only stands to be true that when Merrick Garland and them started arresting parents and deeming them domestic terrorists for speaking out at these meetings, it makes it true. This is where people you are the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters, the uncles, aunts. You have to get in there and fight back. These are the children, these are your communities, and these are people's lives. Your security and the betterment of your household and your community is up to your vote. Okay? And I'm sorry, but transgenderism is not going to take care of that. It is just going to destroy it. So stop trying to think that, you know what, if we fight for these leftist agenda, it makes me a good person because I'm worried about their welfare. What about your welfare? What about the welfare of your kids? What about the welfare of your neighbors? Okay? I mean, people don't say you go woke, you go broke, because that's exactly what happens. And that's exactly what's going on, and it's going to continue. And it is spreading worldwide. That's why so many people around the world, in all these countries, especially in the West, they are fighting back. They are fed up. Regardless that they call everybody far right, fascist, those are just words. You know where you stand. You know where you stand in your heart, and God Almighty, the Lord Jesus Christ above, knows where you stand when it comes to standing for good. Okay? And what the left is standing for is not standing for good. It is demonic. It's a demonic agenda. Plain and simple. A demonic agenda. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. And I'll be leaving a link to Loza Alexander's Gifts and Go campaign. If you guys can help him out in any way, shape, or form, or leave him words of encouragement and prayer, it's greatly appreciated. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Keep praying for your enemies. Pray for Donald Trump. Pray for this country. And don't forget to get out there and vote and take people with you. Get them engaged. Okay? Especially the younger people, the ones that turned 18 and it's time for them to vote. Get them in. I'm not saying force them, but get them engaged. Let them make up their mind. Let them know what's going on. Okay? Don't let social media do it. Don't let TikTok make them think that everything is all fine and dandy, because it's not. It's really, really not. Peace.